Something in the White Mountains took my friend. My name is Ethan. This story happened in October of 2016, when 4 of my friends and I took a weekend hiking trip up in northern New Hampshire, more specifically the White Mountains. We were all college students at a fairly local university, which, if you're from or familiar with New Hampshire, you know how beautiful the mountains are in the fall. It was me, Kyle, Danielle, Mason, and Jake. All being students in New Hampshire, we're all pretty experienced with trails. Nothing insane like technical climbing or backcountry survival, but enough that we'd seen our fair share in the woods prior. We picked a bit as popular trail to avoid the foliage tourists planning to camp about halfway up and finish by late Sunday. The first day was completely normal. Cold, crisp air, quiet even. We made camp that night without any issue. The sun set normal timing for the season, around 6 p.m. We built a fire just off the trail, cooked, had a few beers, and went to bed in our 2 tents, guys in one, Danielle in the other. That's when everything truly started. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to what I thought were footsteps. Not like heavy stomping or anything, but soft, slow crunches in the leaves just outside the tent. As I said, we've seen our fair share in the woods before this trip. I figured it was a deer, or maybe even a black bear sniffing around if we were really unlucky. But then it stopped, and stayed quiet for way too long. I held my breath, trying to listen. Then Mason, who was next to me, whispered, "You hear that too?" I said, "Yeah." And we both just stayed frozen. Then a twig snapped. Not random, this sounded deliberate. Like someone stepping right outside the tent. Kyle, half asleep, mumbled, "Chill. It's probably an animal," but it didn't feel like that. You know when you know someone's watching you. After a bit, it went silent again. I don't know how long we laid there, but I finally drifted off again. The next morning, I asked Danielle if she heard anything. She looked at me weirdly, saying, "I thought that was one of you walking around." That definitely creeped me out. We searched the area, but didn't see any signs of anything. Just some disheveled leaves that could have been tracks, but it's the woods. It's nearly impossible to say just based off that. We kept hiking that day, climbing higher up into the range. The trees got sparser, and the trail narrowed. That's when Kyle stopped and said, "Yo, you see that?" We all looked ahead, I swear to God. Standing maybe 60 feet off the trail, deep in the trees, was someone. Just barely visible, wearing something dark. Not moving. Jake waved and yelled hello over trying to be friendly. We all looked over at him, probably wondering what the hell is he doing, whoever, or whatever it was didn't respond. They didn't even flinch. Mason said it was likely another hiker. It's October during all the foliage. If there's any time for people to be here hiking or camping like us, it's now. But it didn't feel right. No gear, no pack. Just still, watching. Then they just walked away, not down the trail, into the woods, barely making a sound. We were all freaked, but Mason, he seemed stuck on the idea it was just another hiker. We should have turned around right then, but we didn't. That night, we set up camp again, a little higher up, still on the trail, but in a tight cluster of pines. We barely talked. None of us wanted to admit how weird things were getting. Mason kept trying to reassure us, but I could tell it was getting to him too. Around midnight, I woke up to rustling. Not footsteps this time, running, like something darting back and forth through the brush. Kyle slightly unzipped the tent and peeked out, just barely. Only enough to not be seen. I'll never forget his voice when he whispered, "Dude, "There's someone out there." He waved me over, and when I looked, I caught a glimpse of something just slipping behind a tree. It was a face, just a face, but pulled back like it was hiding, and high up, really high up. This thing had to be extremely tall. I am not exaggerating, at least 6 feet 6 inches. What the hell? I was praying this was a dream. We were just seeing something. We were still drunk from the beers we had at the fire. Then Danielle started yelling from her tent. I think my heart dropped down to my feet. I looked over at Kyle and could tell the same happened to him. But nothing. No noise. No more running. Anything. We ran over to Danielle, realizing she must have scared it off. She was in her tent holding bear spray, crying to herself. We comforted her and brought her over to our tent. We sat up all night, taking turns watching. Nothing else happened. As soon as sunlight hit, we packed up fast. The worst part was on the hike out. We were probably less than a mile from the trailhead when we realized Jake wasn't with us. At first, we thought he was just behind. He liked to stop and take photos. But that made no sense. Why the hell would he be taking photos during how tense of a moment this is? He was helping us to watch the tent. He knew what was out there. 10 minutes turned into 30. Then an hour. We split up a little to look, looping back, yelling his name. We never found him. No answer. No tracks. No sounds. No gear. We called search and rescue. The school, local police, everything. They combed the area for days. Drones, dogs, helicopters. Nothing. It's nearly a decade later. Jake is still missing to this day. His phone last pinged near the trail the same morning we lost him. They ruled it an unsolved disappearance. Likely a black bear. But here's the part I haven't told anyone, not the police, not his parents. A week later, I got an airdrop request on my phone while I was home. It said, Jake's iPhone. The image that came through was pitch black, but when I brightened it, there was something. Long limbs. A face that looked directly in the camera, and a smile stretched wider than physically possible. It was taken out in those trees where we saw that figure. The timestamp, 3:11 a.m., the night after Jake disappeared. I don't know what we saw out there. I don't know if I'm going insane. I own a home now and work a job a state away. I still hear things in the woods behind my house. Sometimes I think I do even in my house. I haven't spoken to the group much since we graduated college. Except for Danielle, she claims to still hear and see things, like she's being followed. Apparently Kyle tells her the same. If we're not going insane, and it wasn't a bear like the police say, then we're being stalked by something or someone, maybe even more than one. Even all these years later, and something tells me it doesn't plan on stopping anytime soon. I don't know if Jake is dead, if he's alive somewhere being tortured. I have no idea, but I swear sometimes the noises I hear in the woods behind my home is his voice, calling out to me, telling me to come to him. If you're hiking in New Hampshire, don't go off trail. And don't ignore that feeling when you're being watched. Because I don't know what, but something or someone is out there, and it took Jake.